For an athlete or a coach, to represent your country is the pinnacle of achievement. Standing there as the national anthem is being played before battle commences is paradoxically, it's both nerve-wracking, but it's also enjoyable. Coming down a few levels from where Erica is, I had the pleasure of coaching the Region 1 Under-17 team against England some years ago. We were not Region 1, but to everyone gathered in the southwest of Ireland where the tournament was, we were the USA. And I can recall we warmed up and then we went back in, and then I said to my assistant, okay, you go and walk the team out, because as my players will attest, I'm very relaxed before a game, completely in control of all bodily functions. And I needed to, just go and talk to the whatever. Anyway, so they walked out onto the field, and then when I came out, I'd said to them beforehand, look, you're playing England, the birthplace of soccer. They're rowdy, loud, obnoxious. When we play that national anthem, I want every one of you, I don't want to be looking at us, I want you singing that national anthem. And when I came out, they just started playing the Stars and Stripes, and I looked over at our kids, and they were belting the national anthem out. And I'm not kidding you, I was tingling with excitement. It was tremendous. We beat England 3-1, and I quite enjoyed that, and I thought, revenge for Yorktown. No, we beat them then as well, didn't we? So, but it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Erica has coached at the ultimate level, at the World Cup and Olympics. In a few weeks, she will leave with the squad for England and the 2012 Olympics. We wish her the very best with head coach Pia Sundhage and her team as they seek to defend their Olympic title. Our players will be playing against the best on the planet. They will be playing against the Annika Sorenstams of the soccer world, against the Martina Navratilovas of the soccer world, just to put it all in perspective, against Kamari Sawa, one of the greatest players ever, and the 5-time Player of the Year, International Player of the Year, Marta. They're going to be playing against that level of competition, and they're going to bring back the gold medal for us, I'm sure of that. Erica is obviously very special to me. She's very special to William and Mary. Some say that she's my favourite player of all time, but she says that Anne Cook is. I will keep them guessing. Wherever she goes, and against whomever she plays, we know that William and Mary is as special to Erica as she is to us. Erica Walsh.
Thank you, JD. As always, it's always fun to follow JD, and I get to follow Millie as well, so I get doubly lucky. Obviously, it's such a pleasure and honor to be standing in front of all of you today, and congratulations, Joe and Lauren, and just a pleasure to be back in Williamsburg with so many friends and family, and to meet some new friends as well. I got a chance to go to the little gathering for this occasion last night and meet some amazing people, and to sit and listen to your stories about Title IX. I am the next generation of coaches. I am the one that has benefited from all the hard work that you've put in. I've never had to line a field. I've never had to cut oranges. I never had to walk a shopping cart down William and Mary Hall with our laundry and do our laundry. I'm absolutely 100% spoiled, and I know it, and my responsibility is to make sure that I understand it, I own it, and I pass it on. And I'm thrilled to see so many people here today, and so many coaches and administrators, but I'm equally thrilled to see so many student athletes as well, because I think it's obviously so important for us to understand that we're a part of something so much bigger during our time here. I live in State College, Pennsylvania, in a bubble. I live at Penn State University, and our life is in a bubble, and it largely existed at William & Mary in this bubble between Richmond Road and Confusion Corner, and didn't really know what was going on in life outside except for what was in the flat hat, I think. But it is important for us to understand and share those experiences. It's nearly time for everybody to head out for the weekend and drive home, so I'm not going to keep you too long. We've got a lacrosse game to get to. I'm just going to share a couple of my coaching experiences and also show you two pretty cool videos, and those are my favorite parts, so I'm not going to bore you for too long. Obviously, we all met some amazing people here during our time at William & Mary, and no two greater people did I meet in my mentor and coach in JD, and also my college roommate in Ann Cook. For all of you undergrads, be careful who you choose to live with, because you may end up coaching with them or being around them the rest of your life if you're lucky enough, as I have been. After graduating from William & Mary, both Ann and I embarked on two different paths. I was a biology major here at William & Mary and thought I was going to go off into the biology world, but got a bit of the coaching bug, and it happens. You get around somebody that impacts you, whether it's a teacher or somebody in your profession, and they just have such a profound impact. And JD had that on me during my time here. And I met somebody right out of college that was so passionate about giving back to this game. And I caught the bug. Landed me up at Dartmouth at the ripe old age of 24 as a head coach. Couldn't rent a van, so I had to travel with a trainer that was a little bit older than us when we went to Stanford that year. And I sheepishly had to have the trainer rent the van for us. And Ann went off to play in just a tremendous, our women's professional league, and got drafted. She was always a little bit brighter, a little bit better looking, and JD's favorite, and a little bit of a better soccer player than I was. But we went off on two different paths. And my time, I was just talking to Terry Driscoll about finding the right fit, and William & Mary was absolutely the right fit for me. He says that one of his interview questions for the seniors is, if you had to do it all again, would you do it again? And the answer for me is 100% yes. In fact, it makes me sad when I see players that see student athletes that don't have the experience that I had and that my fellow teammates had. But during my path, one of the places where I ended up was down at Florida State, and I never envisioned myself going into a big-time athletics program because I'm from a relatively small town and chose William & Mary because it was the right size and the right fit. And I went down there. Part of the reason I went down is because I was told I need to keep an open mind. I had started at Bucknell and been to Dartmouth, and I thought, this is me, this is the right fit for me, and I went down there. And athletics is a scary world, as Terry Driscoll knows and all these coaches know. It's a scary world. There's a lot going on in the media right now, as all of you know, and Penn State certainly had their fair share of what's going on over the past year. And I went down to Florida State, and I was in charge of our recruiting. And the very first thing that I did is I asked to have a meeting with the recruiting coordinator of the football program. And he agreed, and I sat down with him, and he told me two things that remain with me today. The first thing he said is, the day that a player commits to our university is the day we need to really start recruiting that kid. And I thought, that's such a foreign concept to me. In our sport, somebody commits and you let them go and they're off and they go off. And I thought, that is such a scary world. And the other thing he said, and the thing that scares me the most about college athletics, is he told me that our world is a gray area, and that college athletics is a gray area. And if you can't exist in that gray area, then you can't exist in this profession. And I went back and I thought, kind of scratched my head a little bit and thought, I'm just not sure that this is the right path for me. And for everything that JD had taught me and what William & Mary had taught me about building a family and how to do it the right way. So I bounced around a little bit more and got a call from Penn State. I'll bring this all back around here eventually. Got a call from Penn State, and I grew up in the Philadelphia area. My parents are alums, and I thought, all right, I'm going to try that. It's obviously, he's got a wonderful academic and athletic reputation, and you know what? I want to win a national championship, and I think this is the place that I can do it. So I went up there, and my mind, obviously still relatively young head coach, and my mind was filled with all of these things that I needed to do to sell this program. And one of the first things I did was call up my good old friend Ann Cook, my college roommate, and I said, why don't you come join me? At the time, she was at Nebraska, and she had just been watching state cup games, and apparently it was so cold at the field that she had to write her notes in a porta potty at halftime of the game. I actually called her. She was in the porta potty, and I was all sorts of confused. So she flew in, and as the norm between my relationship with Cookie is, I thought I was going to interview her, and as it turns out, she ended up interviewing me. me, and she said, you know, you left college and you're a little bit crazy, you like to work too much, and you're all over the place, and A, I'm gonna have to manage your schedule, and B, I don't operate like you. I know who I am. I know what's important to me. I know that I need work-life balance. I know I need all of these things. And if you want those things from me, and if you want me to help you provide those things, then hire me. And let's go on this journey, and let's have a good time. But if you want somebody who's gonna be in the office with you till 11 o'clock at night and run around like a crazy person, I'm not your girl, your gal. And I have learned so much from my time with Ann Cook, and she's been absolutely right. And so, one of the first things we had to do was we had to start recruiting at this place, and we had a big-time recruit that came in. And I thought, who better to learn from than Joe Paterno? So I made an appointment with Joe Paterno. We took this big-time recruit, and I was all excited. I was all giddy, you know, my idol my whole life, and I was going to get a chance to meet the man, the myth. And I walked in, and he walked right past me. I wasn't interested in Ann and I at all, and he walked right up to this young woman, and, oh, you must be Tiff, and come and have a seat. And I went over there, and I was on the edge of my seat. I was so excited because I just arrived at Penn State, and I needed these just pearls of wisdom, these recruiting gems that I was going to be able to use for years to come. And Joe started talking, Joe, and we're not on a first name basis, I never have been. Coach Paterno started talking about, his grandkids. He started talking about his time at the beach, and his secretary walked by and brought her over and introduced his secretary to us, and the janitor came by, actually, ironically enough, and introduced him to us. And after about 10 minutes, I'm looking at Ann, and Ann's looking at me, and I'm thinking, when are we going to start to get into like the national championships and the 110,000 people that we put into this stadium, and can we go see the locker room, and let's get into some of this stuff. And another 10 minutes goes by, and I had been with this family all day, and I just couldn't crack them. Their body language was closed. They had already gone down the path with another school. I had a pretty good idea that we weren't going to get her anyway. But I look about 15 minutes into this thing, and he's got these guys laughing and taking pictures, and all of a sudden I'm hugging the mom, and I'm going, what just happened? What's going on here? And my point is, he's talking so much more about the people that were a part of it than anything else that I thought was important in my young coaching career. And it was such a good lesson about what makes this place and what makes William & Mary so special are the people that you meet during your time here. You know, it's easy to get caught up in this race right now. It's an arms race of making bigger, better stadiums and nice fields and running around. That's okay, and running around. But we have to keep in the back of our mind, and whether it's in athletics or whether it's in your chosen field and you're trying to find your niche, that it is the people that are so important in all of it. That next year we had a bit of a tough season. We had 4 of our 5 best players were freshmen. And as the coaches in the room can attest to, when you're struggling a bit, you start to bang your head against the wall. You start to do things that you might not do otherwise, in terms of, I got really caught up in statistics and the film, and spending all this time doing things that weren't necessarily what had gotten me to that point, which was just spending time with people. And after we went through a little bit of stretch that we struggled, Ann and I sat down and we talked about getting back to the people in our life, getting back to these student athletes and spending time with our student athletes. We talked about what made JD so successful and what makes so many of the people at William & Mary so successful, and these coaches. It's a thrill to come back after 15 years and see so many of the same faces that I saw when I was here, and seeing Barbara Blosser and so many of these faces is just fantastic. But we had to go back to what was important to us, and it just sticks with me that Ann continues to talk about, remember who it is that makes you so special, and what it is as a coach or a student athlete. You're going to have all sorts of challenges in your life, but figure out what your philosophy is and stick with it, because through those tough times, that's what it comes back to. And JD, for us, when it comes back to the family that you created. And in that season, when we were struggling so much, we had to go back to that feeling of, we didn't ever care how much our coach knew. We just wanted to know how much you cared. And he knew an awful lot. but we just needed to know how much he cared about us and how much time he spent with us. And that's what we went back to. And we started getting coffee breaks with these players and started going back to what had made us so successful. And ultimately, I don't know if I'll win a national championship at Penn State, but I'm going to do it the right way. And as JD continues to do and continues to guide me and to be my moral compass, you've always done it the right way. And it's getting harder and harder. I think we all can appreciate that. But we will continue to stay the course. So I'm going to take kind of a right turn now and talk to you a bit about my experience with the Olympics and with this World Cup team. My thought when I was, and I just, to be honest, to be very honest, and not even to be humble, I was in the right place at the right time. I accepted a phone call from our national team coach and got the wonderful honor to represent our country in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And what an experience it was. It's such a joy to share it with so many of the people in this room today, because it's so much of what you all fought for. When we went to Germany this summer, and one of the greatest things about the World Cup is that there's really nothing else going on during that time. So we got to have the spotlight. And I was at the opening ceremonies. It was Canada against Germany, and there were 75,000 people in the stands, 75,000 people in the stands. And in front of me, there was a group of men that didn't bring their wives, they didn't bring their daughters. They weren't sitting there drinking beer. They were enjoying the show. They were true fans of this sport. They knew the athletes. They knew their statistics. And I was so impressed. We had arrived. Even if it was for that short moment, we had arrived. And you all had worked so hard to get us. And for the student athletes in this room, for whatever sport you're in, we have benefited so much from the work that Millie and all of the women and men in this room have done for women's athletics. I want to share with you a quick video of our experiences. My job, besides coaching the defense with the World Cup team, is I do all the video work, and it's kind of the bane of my existence, to be brutally honest. But so you steal a little bit from here and there, and this is the video I put together before our semifinal match against France, and we had just beaten Brazil. For those of you that remember, Abby Wambach went up, big cross, she went up, and kind of our whole worlds came together, and somehow the ball ended up in the back of the net, and we hit a couple PKs, and that next 24 hours was the most wild ride I've ever experienced. Nobody slept. We had 48 hours before we were playing France in the World Cup semifinal, and nobody slept a wink. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the meal room, or I got out of my bed in the middle of the night to go to the meal room, and the players were lining the hallways, playing cards. There was so much adrenaline because none of us had ever experienced that. Even those players, even the Olympic players, none of us had ever experienced that type of excitement in our sport.